This morning, several bodies, some with their heads decapitated, were littered around the city. 30 people have been killed in cult-related killings within the past week.
A secretive fraternity born on a Nigerian campus has evolved into a sprawling criminal empire that reaches across continents. They call themselves the Black Axe, and over the past few decades, this group has been linked to heinous acts of violence at home and massive fraud schemes abroad. Once an idealistic student movement, Black Axe is now described as a Mafia-style gang by the BBC, notorious for cybercrime, human trafficking, financial fraud, drug trafficking, intimidation, and violence. Its members, known as Axemen, operate in the shadows from West Africa to Europe, North America, and even Asia, turning up wherever the Nigerian diaspora has spread. You might never have heard of Black Axe, but for all you know, you may have already encountered them, perhaps through a scam email in your inbox. This is the story of how a Nigerian cult-like brotherhood morphed into an international organized crime syndicate, and why law enforcement agencies worldwide are in a high-stakes battle to stop it. Black Axe traces its origins to Nigeria in the late 1970s. It emerged in 1977 at the University of Benin in Edo State, founded by a handful of students inspired by Pan-Africanist and anti-colonial ideals. Originally, it was part of a student organization called the Neo-Black Movement of Africa, NBM, a self-styled intellectual fraternity that adopted the symbol of a black axe smashing through shackled hands, signifying the breaking of colonial chains. In those early days, the group preached black empowerment and resistance to oppression, claiming lofty goals of liberating the black race from systemic injustice. But even at its inception, Black Axe had a darker side. It operated as a campus confraternity, or cult in local parlance, shrouded in secrecy and demanding intense loyalty from its members. Initiation rituals were brutal, designed to forge bonds through pain and fear. Accounts from former members describe candidates being beaten, burned, and forced to lie in the mud for hours during nighttime ceremonies. Each initiate would then kneel before a priest figure to be purified and symbolically reborn as an Axeman, even receiving a secret strong name taken from African freedom fighters like Patrice Lumumba or Marcus Garvey. This blend of mysticism and militancy led many on campus to label Black Axe a cult, and indeed the fraternity cultivated an aura of danger. Leaders encouraged violence as a means of proving strength, and members swore oaths of silence, all of it setting the stage for what was to come. By the 1980s, the Black Axe confraternity had spread to multiple Nigerian universities and was enmeshed in violent rivalries with other campus cults. The group's idealistic rhetoric gave way to gang warfare, extortion, and campus crimes. A notorious flashpoint came in July 1999 when Black Axe members were implicated in the Obafemi Awolowo University massacre, an attack that left 5 students dead and many injured. Incidents like this cemented Black Axe's reputation in Nigeria as a deadly cult that would kill without mercy, even as its leaders insisted, unconvincingly, that they only spilled blood for justice. Under growing pressure, Black Axe began to shift off campus. In the mid-1990s, graduating members deliberately severed ties with the university setting, taking their brotherhood underground and into Nigeria's cities. What started as a student fraternity was now transforming into something far more menacing. Cut loose from academia, Black Axe reinvented itself in the shadows of Nigeria's criminal underworld. Through the late 1990s and 2000s, the group capitalized on instability and corruption in Nigeria, entrenching itself in various illicit enterprises. At the same time, Nigeria's massive diaspora provided new hunting grounds. As Nigerian immigrants and students traveled abroad, and with them, the Black Axe's operations spread into Europe, North America, and beyond. Within a few decades, Black Axe had quietly grown from a local cult into a transnational organized crime network. By the 2010s, evidence of Black Axe's global footprint became hard to ignore. A 2-year investigation by BBC Africa Eye concluded that Black Axe had become one of the most far-reaching and dangerous organized crime groups in the world. Cells of Axemen were active across Africa, Europe, Asia, and North America, often hiding in plain sight within expatriate communities. The leaked internal documents and whistleblower testimonies gathered by the BBC exposed a chilling picture. Black Axe was running scamming and killing operations spanning the globe and even infiltrating politics back home in Nigeria. What had begun as a brotherhood espousing Pan-African unity had morphed into what authorities dubbed the Nigerian Mafia, complete with secret codes, blood oath rituals, and a penchant for extreme violence. Crucially, Black Axe never fully shed its confraternity roots. The group still convenes in secret ceremonies, employs cult jargon, and indoctrinates new members. But it learned to behave like an organized crime family. It established regional chapters or zones in foreign countries, often under the banner of the NBM, which continues to operate legally as a registered socio-cultural organization. For years, law enforcement in many countries didn't even realize this Nigerian cult had gone global. But as we'll see, the wake of crimes left by Black Axe, from romance scams to human trafficking, eventually made the world take notice. Today, Black Axe is implicated in a wide array of criminal activities worldwide, often exploiting international connections to further its schemes. Unlike traditional mafia groups centered on one profit stream, Black Axe is diversified. It is as adept at running cyber scams as it is at smuggling people or goods. Investigators say illicit proceeds from one racket are funneled into others. For example, money from online fraud might finance drug smuggling or vice versa. What follows is a look at the gang's major enterprises, cybercrime and fraud. If you've heard of the infamous Nigerian email scams, you've indirectly heard of Black Axe. This group has been a key player in global online fraud, so much so that authorities believe Black Axe and its affiliates are responsible for a huge share of cyber-enabled financial fraud worldwide. Their scams range from classic 419 advance fee fraud, persuading victims to send money on false promises, to highly sophisticated business email compromise (BEC) schemes targeting companies. One major US indictment in 2021 revealed that Black Axe members in South Africa spent a decade running romance scams and advance fee frauds that conned victims out of millions of dollars. Posing on dating sites and social media, operatives would forge online romances with lonely individuals, then invent crises to beg for money, for example, pretending to be a contractor stranded abroad after a fake accident. In one case, a Canadian widow fell in love with a man claiming to be a US general. He and an accomplice, a Black Axe member, bilked her out of her life savings by spinning tales of bribes and arrests, leaving her nearly destitute in a cold apartment. Black Axe's fraud operations are highly organized. Members often work in cells, with some creating fake profiles and others handling the money laundering end. They have used VoIP phone numbers, fake documents, and aliases to impersonate UN officials, military officers, or wealthy businessmen. Whatever lures the target. The stolen funds are laundered through networks of accounts and shell companies, often spanning multiple countries. In Canada, police say Black Axe specializes in romance scams and has funneled huge sums out of the country. At one point, Canadian authorities uncovered a money laundering scheme worth over $5 billion linked to Black Axe proceeds. Tactics can be ruthless. When some victims hesitated to continue paying, Black Axe scammers threatened to release intimate photos to extort them into sending more cash. This combination of social engineering and intimidation has made Black Axe cybercrime devastatingly effective and profitable. Just exist in the digital realm, it also has a very grim footprint in flesh and blood crimes. Perhaps the most appalling is its role in the trafficking of women from Nigeria to Europe. In countries like Italy, authorities have identified Black Axe as a major actor in the forced prostitution of Nigerian women. The gang preys on vulnerable young women, often from poor communities, and tricks or coerces them into migrating to Europe with promises of jobs. Once in transit or upon arrival, the women are subjected to occult rituals known as juju, frightening oath ceremonies where they are forced to swallow concoctions or give blood, hair, or personal items as part of a curse. These rituals have a profound psychological hold on the victims. The women are convinced that if they disobey their traffickers or fail to pay their debts, they and their families will be supernaturally punished. Under this terrifying spell, victims are enslaved in brothels, raped, beaten, and made to work the streets for years to pay off debts, sometimes exceeding 30,000. European investigators say Black Axe and similar Nigerian confraternities form a Nigerian Mafia network that runs the sex trade across the continent. In Italy, one priest who helps rescue trafficked women described how, behind the slavery of these women, there is a real mafia. Operating across the continent, the criminal enterprise is well organized. Gang overseers in Europe ensure the women hand over earnings, while contacts back in Nigeria recruit new victims and perform the juju rituals to bind them. This trafficking pipeline has been operating for over 2 decades, growing so lucrative that migrants are considered more profitable than drugs by those who run them. By 2020, thousands of Nigerian women and girls had been identified as sex trafficking victims in Italy alone. Black Axe's involvement adds an extra layer of brutality. With their cult heritage, they enforce loyalty through fear. The few who dare to escape or speak out face serious danger, as do the activists and clergy who try to help them. It's a lucrative business built on modern-day slavery, and Black Axe has shown no qualms about profiting from it. While cyber fraud and trafficking are 2 pillars of Black Axe's empire, the gang's criminal portfolio doesn't end there. In Nigeria, Black Axe's name is practically synonymous with violence, gruesome murders, armed assaults, extortion, and turf wars. Locally, they are still called a cult because of secret rites, but their brutality resembles that of a street gang or militia. Images of mutilated bodies and torture victims attributed to Black Axe routinely surface on Nigerian social media. Stark evidence of how far the group is willing to go to eliminate rivals or silence those who cross them. During internal disputes, they refer to executions as butchering, a term chillingly befitting their methods. This penchant for violence isn't confined to Nigeria either. Black Axe members abroad have been involved in kidnappings, assaults, and killings to protect their operations or settle scores. The gang also dabbles in more traditional organized crime enterprises. In some African and European cities, Black Axe is involved in the drug trade, pushing narcotics in partnership with local criminal outfits. They have been tied to arms smuggling and armed robbery in West Africa. And remarkably, Black Axe has even engaged in large-scale property crimes overseas. In Canada, for example, police uncovered a highly sophisticated car theft ring linked to Black Axe, which stole over 500 luxury SUVs, worth about $30 million, and shipped them from Toronto to West Africa. These weren't just opportunistic car thieves. Axemen had infiltrated shipping companies and a government licensing agency to facilitate the smuggling of stolen vehicles, using tactics like forged export documents and secret chop shops to disguise the cars. The audacity and organization behind that scheme stunned Canadian investigators, who noted that these weren't just thieves, but operatives of a transnational syndicate. From intimidation rackets and arms deals to money laundering and identity theft, Black Axe's criminal ventures are widespread. What makes the gang especially difficult to combat is its ability to blend the tactics of a cult with those of organized crime. Members are bound by oath and fear. Defectors or whistleblowers risk deadly retaliation, which means intelligence on the gang is hard-won. Even family or community members often stay silent, terrified of the Axeman's reach. This lethal combination of secrecy, brutality, and global fraud has allowed Black Axe to become a criminal powerhouse with an estimated membership in the thousands. But in recent years, a growing number of law enforcement agencies around the world have woken up to the threat and started to strike back. For a long time, Black Axe expanded under the radar, but the past decade has seen major law enforcement actions that have begun to illuminate and disrupt the gang's international operations. Nigeria itself outlawed all campus cults, confraternities, in the early 2000s, forcing groups like Black Axe to go deeper underground. However, enforcement within Nigeria has been sporadic, often hindered by corruption and the gang's political connections. It's abroad that authorities have made the most visible impact, treating Black Axe as a transnational organized crime cartel. One of the largest blows came in 2022, when Interpol launched Operation Jackal, a coordinated offensive targeting Black Axe cells across 14 countries on 4 continents. In a series of raids, police arrested 75 suspected Black Axe members and seized an immense quantity of assets, including luxury cars, properties, tens of thousands of dollars in cash, and 12,000 SIM cards used in cyber fraud operations. Interpol's executive director of police services noted that illicit financial funds are the lifeblood of transnational organized crime, and we have witnessed how groups like Black Axe will channel money gained from online financial scams into other crime areas, such as drugs and human trafficking. The operation did more than just net suspects. It yielded troves of digital evidence and identified dozens more collaborators, dealing a significant blow to Black Axe's financial networks. During the same sweep, Italian police, the Carabinieri, apprehended Black Axe operatives in Italy's Campobasso region, while Interpol support teams coordinated efforts in places as far-flung as South Africa and Ireland. Operation Jackal underscored that Black Axe's crimes are borderless, and that an equally borderless law enforcement response is required. Individual countries have also ramped up prosecutions. In the United States, the Department of Justice unsealed charges in October 2021 against 8 men linked to Black Axe, also identified as NBM leaders, for extensive internet scam and money laundering conspiracies. These included 7 high-ranking members from Black Axe's Cape Town zone in South Africa, who allegedly ran romance scams and other frauds that defrauded Americans from 2011 to 2021. US Secret Service and FBI agents spent years investigating the case, which revealed that the scammers often used identical stories, like fake construction projects and crane accidents, to swindle victims, echoing the patterns of the classic Nigerian prince scams in a modern form. South African authorities arrested the suspects in 2021. By 2024, one prominent Black Axe leader from that group was extradited to New Jersey to stand trial on wire fraud and money laundering charges. US officials have made it clear that they consider Black Axe a serious organized crime threat, and they are seeking to dismantle its cells operating on American soil. The charges carry heavy penalties, up to 20 years in prison for each fraud and money laundering count, sending a message that even Black Axe's overseas kingpins are not beyond the law's reach. In Europe, Italy has been on the forefront of cracking down on Black Axe as part of a wider effort against the so-called Nigerian Mafia. In 2021, Italian police arrested 30 people suspected of belonging to Black Axe across multiple regions of Italy, including what they identified as the gang's 35-year-old national leader. The following year, in early 2022, another operation in southern Italy netted 4 alleged Black Axe members in Palermo and Taranto after a young Nigerian woman escaped their sex trafficking ring and bravely testified against them. Italian prosecutors have aggressively pursued charges like slavery, human trafficking, kidnapping, and pimping against Black Axe defendants. These cases have revealed the inner workings of the gang's trafficking operations, including the use of Pentecostal pastors to convince victims to cooperate with authorities, breaking the spell of the Juju oaths. Italian courts have started treating Black Axe as akin to domestic mafia groups, employing anti-mafia statutes to lock up members. As a result, there's been a growing awareness in Italy that the Nigerian cult they once thought of as a distant problem is actively operating in many regions of the country. Other European nations are following suit. In Germany, a sweeping investigation culminated in April 2024 with what officials called the largest nationwide strike against the Nigerian Mafia to date. German police raided 19 properties across several states and arrested 11 Nigerian men aged 29 to 53, all long-term residents suspected of being Black Axe members running a large-scale dating scam ring. Authorities revealed that in Bavaria alone, romance scams tied to this group cost victims over $5 million in 2023. The money from those scams was being funneled back to Nigeria via an elaborate laundering scheme. The perpetrators would use so-called financial agents to purchase goods under the guise of charity and ship those products to Nigeria, converting cash to commodities to evade detection. German officials explicitly named Black Axe and its alias NBM as one of the confraternities comprising the Nigerian Mafia, indicating a clear understanding that these arrests were not just random internet scammers, but part of an organized network. The crackdown in Germany shows how far Black Axe's web extends into the diaspora, and how law enforcement, even in countries with smaller Nigerian communities, are beginning to connect the dots. Meanwhile, Canada had an early brush with Black Axe activity. Back in 2015, Toronto police quietly began investigating Nigerian-linked fraud cases and noticed something unusual. Suspects in separate cases wearing identical Black Axe insignia, black berets, and yellow socks emblazoned with an axe-breaking chains. This clue led detectives down a 2-year probe into the group's presence in Canada. By late 2015, they introduced Canadians to the name Black Axe, with the arrest of 3 men who had defrauded a Toronto woman of $609,000 in a romance scam. Soon after, police busted the massive SUV theft ring mentioned earlier, laying 640 charges and arresting 18 more people connected to Black Axe's operations in Ontario. A Toronto police detective noted how deeply fear and silence hampered the investigation. Even Nigerian community leaders were reluctant to admit the gang's existence in Canada, and witnesses gave only partial information, terrified of retribution. Despite this wall of silence, Canada now officially considers Black Axe an organized crime group, and investigators have continued to monitor its activities, including ties to money laundering and violence. The Canadian cases were among the first outside Nigeria to publicly expose Black Axe, and they underscore a pattern seen elsewhere. The gang often operates in the diaspora under a cloak of community fear and denial. From North America to Europe and Africa, the fight against Black Axe is intensifying. International agencies like Interpol and national police forces are sharing intelligence and recognizing patterns, which is critical given how the gang's networks overlap through the diaspora. Arrests alone, however, are not a quick fix. Many Black Axe fugitives remain at large, and the organization's resilient, decentralized structure means that removing one head doesn't kill the hydra. New leaders and cells can emerge. Still, the recent law enforcement successes have at least begun to pierce Black Axe's aura of impunity. They have also shone light on the group's inner workings, helping strip away the myth that it was just a harmless fraternal club. As one Interpol official put it, these groups demand a global response. And for Black Axe, that response is now well underway. Despite mounting evidence of Black Axe's criminal activities, a cloud of controversy and mystery still surrounds the group, especially in how it intersects with society and politics. Part of the confusion stems from Black Axe's relationship with its progenitor organization, the Neo-Black Movement, NBM. The NBM is a registered entity in Nigeria and abroad, often billing itself as a charitable or cultural organization dedicated to equality and social justice. Officially, NBM leaders insist they have no connection to Black Axe and condemn any criminal acts. In fact, in 2024, the NBM publicly dissociated itself from Black Axe and expelled dozens of members accused of cult activity. NBM's lawyers told the BBC that any Black Axe infiltrators in their ranks are expelled immediately, and that the movement is non-violent. However, many investigators and observers aren't buying this clean separation. Law enforcement officials in multiple countries argue that NBM and Black Axe are effectively one and the same. Harper's Magazine reported that growing criminality among NBM's members had corrupted the group and made it closely associated, if not synonymous, with Black Axe. The US has gone as far as formally labeling the NBM a criminal organization part of Black Axe, and Canadian authorities have bluntly stated that Black Axe and the NBM are the same. These assertions fuel a major controversy. Is the Neo-Black Movement merely a philanthropic Pan-African fraternity as it claims, or is that a convenient front for the Black Axe cult to operate legally? The truth may lie somewhere in between. It's possible the majority of NBM members are ordinary, non-criminal folks, but multiple investigations have shown that high-ranking Black Axe axemen have held leadership positions in NBM, blurring any distinction. This ambiguity has led to deep suspicion of NBM chapters in the diaspora. For instance, community members and police in places like Canada have noted the NBM's presence at cultural events even as Black Axe crimes were occurring, raising eyebrows about whether charitable donations or meetings were sometimes a cover for illicit plotting. Within diaspora communities, Black Axe's presence is a subject of rumor, fear, and denial in equal measure. When Toronto police first announced Black Axe-related arrests, Many Nigerian Canadians were astonished. Community leaders claimed they had no knowledge of Black Axe in Toronto, with some flat out denying it existed outside Nigeria. Others acknowledged hearing of it, but believed it to be a distant issue, or blamed the crimes on a few rogue individuals. In one interview, a man who claimed to be an NBM member told Vice News that the Canadian arrests were just a bad egg or two, spoiling an otherwise altruistic organization. This narrative, that Black Axe is overblown or merely a few bad actors, clashes with the view of law enforcement, who see an organized network exerting undue influence over the Nigerian diaspora in Canada. Police in Toronto warned that fear of Black Axe was so deep that even people who knew about the gang were afraid to speak its name, making it incredibly difficult to investigate crimes in the community. This wall of silence and tendency to downplay the problem can itself be seen as a kind of conspiracy of silence, whether intentional or born of genuine terror. The secrecy surrounding Black Axe has inevitably bred conspiracy theories. In Nigerian diaspora forums and WhatsApp groups, one hears whispers that Black Axe members have infiltrated everything from student associations to church groups abroad, using these as recruitment grounds or as camouflage. Some rumors allege that wealthy axemen are behind legitimate businesses in foreign countries, laundering money under everyone's noses. There are even suggestions that Black Axe has a hit list of outspoken Nigerian activists in the diaspora, though concrete evidence is scant. What makes these theories plausible to many is Black Axe's confirmed tactic of infiltration back home in Nigeria, including into politics. In Edo State, the group's heartland, activists claim that politics is saturated with Black Axe members and that corrupt politicians sponsor cult gangs to do their dirty work. Nigeria has this mafia politics, says local anti-cult campaigner Curtis Ogbebor. Our politicians, government at all levels, encourage our youth into cultism. Indeed, leaked documents obtained by journalists showed that a candidate from a major political party was secretly an axeman who diverted 35 million naira, about 85,000, to Black Axe to help secure votes in an election. This revelation confirmed long-held suspicions that some Nigerian politicians enlist cultists as muscle during elections, effectively trading funds for violence and voter intimidation. When facts like these come to light, it's little wonder that Nigerian expatriates might suspect Black Axe's hand in various untoward events, or that every so often a sensational story surfaces linking a public figure to the cult. Separating paranoia from reality can be difficult, however. Black Axe's conspiratorial nature, its oaths of secrecy, aliases, and hidden hierarchies means real plots and imagined plots get tangled up. Authorities must tread carefully, relying on hard evidence amid the swirling claims. What is clear is that Black Axe thrives in the shadows, and that very opacity is a source of both its power and the myths around it. The group's leaders have cultivated relationships with power brokers, allowing them to elude crackdowns or tip off members to impending raids, according to various reports. Meanwhile, innocent Nigerian diaspora members often feel tainted by association, with the phrase Nigerian Mafia attracting unwelcome scrutiny to their communities. This has led some community advocates to push back, arguing that headlines about Black Axe can feed xenophobia or exaggerated fears of immigrants. It's a delicate balance, addressing the real crimes without demonizing an entire diaspora. Black Axe, for its part, doesn't advertise itself. It moves quietly, enforcing loyalty through both brotherhood and terror. This is why so many ordinary Nigerians abroad either know nothing about it, or if they do, prefer to pretend it's not there. As one Canadian Nigerian put it, "If it's here, I don't want to know. Talking about them is too dangerous." Such is the chilling effect the group has even thousands of miles from its birthplace. The story of Black Axe is a study in extremes and evolution. What began as a radical student movement, ostensibly fighting oppression, lost its way and transformed into an oppressor of the very people it once vowed to uplift. The Black Axe of today is at once a cult and a cartel, blending the ritualistic fervor of a secret society with the cold, hard tactics of organized crime. Its axemen toast their fallen comrades with mystical chants one day, then turn around and defraud retirees in another country the next. They invoke Pan-African solidarity yet carry out abhorrent abuses against fellow Africans. It's a hypocrisy not lost on those who survived the group. Dr. John Stone, a former Axeman turned whistleblower, described the haunting screams of victims and the lifelong scars carried by perpetrators and victims alike. A grim testament to how Black Axe's brand of violence leaves nobody truly unscathed. And yet, in shining a light on Black Axe, one must avoid painting the group as all-powerful or ubiquitous. Law enforcement's recent successes show that the Axemen are vulnerable to good police work and international cooperation. Their anonymity is being peeled back by investigative journalism and intelligence sharing. Each arrest, be it a local cult hitman in Benin City or a fraud mastermind in Johannesburg, chips away at the impunity the gang long enjoyed. Still, the battle is far from over. Black Axe remains active, adaptive, and opportunistic. As long as poverty, corruption, and weak governance persist in places like Nigeria, groups like Black Axe find fertile ground to recruit and regenerate. And as long as people worldwide can be tempted by easy money or fall prey to a persuasive lie, Black Axe will find victims for its scams and foot soldiers for its missions. In the end, the saga of Black Axe carries a broader lesson about the globalization of crime. A secret cult meeting in a Nigerian university 4 decades ago has spawned criminal tentacles that encircle the globe today. The same forces that connect our world, migration, the internet, financial flows, have enabled a once local menace to go international. For the authorities, dismantling Black Axe is more than just busting a gang. It's about untangling a transcontinental web of deceit and violence. For communities, it's about reclaiming the narrative and refusing to let fear rule. And for the members themselves, many of whom were lured by promises of brotherhood and empowerment, it's perhaps about realizing how completely the script has flipped. As of now, Black Axe endures, a shadowy fraternity of scammers and enforcers stretching from Lagos to London, from Toronto to Turin. Its story is still being written in ongoing court cases and undercover operations. It's the kind of story that feels almost too extreme to be true. Occult rituals and cyber heists, political corruption and blood oaths, all intertwined. But it is true, and it's unfolding in real time. Gripping, tragic, and complex, the rise of Black Axe shows how easily righteous ideals can be corrupted by power and greed. In the words of one Nigerian observer, a cry for justice turned into a cry for one, and a cry for all to bow to the axe. The Black Axe gang may have built itself on secrecy, but the world is now watching. And as investigators close in and insiders continue to break the code of silence, one thing is certain: the days when Black Axe could hide behind conspiracy and myth are coming to an end. The echoes of their crimes are finally catching up to them, across Nigeria and across the world.